Hello, I'm Heather,
And I'm Ryan,
and this is the Politics Free Podcast,
where you can come for a short time each week to get away from the madness of the world.
while we carry on as though nothing important or noteworthy is happening,
So join us for some conversation,
and some silliness.
while we attempt to put you in a better mood by the end of the episode than you're in right now.
Welcome to our bubble.
Welcome to our bubble.
Hello, everyone. We have a very special guest on the podcast today, don't we, Ryan?
Yes, we do. And I actually
This
knew about it this time.
I know. This mystery person was worked at MIT for many years as a biochemist, is a flautist. She has recently written a book called No Period, Now What? A Guide to Regaining Your Cycle and Improving Your Fertility. And she also has a podcast called All In, which directly relates to the topic of that book. She is the mother of 3 wonderful boys. And I know that.
Maybe.
3 boys who
There
are
you go.
there. And she also holds the special distinction of being our cousin, which is,
Yay.
I think that's the only way we were going to get a PhD person on here. So thanks for coming. It is Nicola Rinaldi. Welcome to the Politics Free Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It is so nice to actually see the two of you again. It's been a long time and, get to catch up a little bit and chat about all things not politics. So I'm really excited to talk with you.
Awesome. So I thought we'd start out by finding out a little bit about your story in regards to what inspired you to write this book in the first place. I know you talk about it on your podcast, but I figured we'd let our podcast audience know as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the topic of my book is about a condition called hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is a mouthful. So I always just call it HA. It's much easier. And it's a condition that I experienced myself at the end of my graduate school career. So like the guys in my lab were, I used to hang out with them a lot because my husband was a consultant at the time. So he was away 4 or 5 nights a week. So I was basically just in lab with, the folks there and used to go to the weight room together and play squash and whatever. And so they decided one day to go on a diet. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to a diet too. I've got some love handles I could lose and, starting to think about getting pregnant and kept reading lose weight to have a healthy pregnancy. So I was like, yeah, I could stand to lose a few pounds. So we did, I cut my calories significantly and I was exercising 2 hours a day because I loved it. I was playing ice hockey and volleyball and squash and biking and lifting weights and playing golf on the weekends. So I was just moving all the time. So I did lose a bunch of weight and I was totally stoked with myself. I had a 6-pack for the first time in my life and, I could see the vein running down my bicep and I was like, this is so cool. And then I went off the pill to try and get pregnant and my body was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. So I went to doctors and I had a bunch of tests done and I told them what I was doing for eating and exercise and they were like, well, maybe you could eat a little bit more and maybe you could exercise a little bit less. But that was really the extent of the guidance that I got. And so eventually after 6 months, they diagnosed me with HA and they still didn't really give me any guidance. So, I ended up doing a bunch of injectable cycles to try and get pregnant. And then none of those worked. And so we were going to do IVF, but I decided to wait for a little while because we had insurance that was out of state. And if it was in Massachusetts, it would be covered. So we waited and I happened to ovulate and get pregnant with my now almost 15-year-old child. So that was kind of my story. And then when I was actually pregnant with him, it was I had a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions, which are just supposedly quote unquote practice contractions, but it was every 2 to 3 minutes when I was about 25 weeks. And the doctor's
wow.
You need to stop doing basically anything, not bed rest, but they call it modified bed rest. They're you can go to work, you can drive to work, you can't walk anywhere, you can just go to work and sit down. So I had a lot of free time on my hands. And one of my friends had just messaged me about this bulletin board that she had found. And so I joined it. It was other women with HA. And so I started sharing my story and, helping people with theirs. And, I'm a scientist. So anytime somebody would ask a question, I'd go look in the medical literature and learn more about it. So I really enjoyed that. And it was like a nice way to spend my free time, or like when I was nursing Anthony or whatever. It was just, kind of a place that I spent hours and hours and hours.
Mhm.
And eventually the people on the board were like, well, you know so much, you should write a book. And I was like, yeah, I think I should. And it was funny because it was not something that I ever pictured myself doing in a million years, but I had a story to tell, and it turns out it was a big story because the book is 550 pages. So I actually had a lot to say. Just like everything that I know about periods and eating and exercise and, everything I've learned over the years and all the research I did and, getting pregnant and kind of all of that stuff. So it's all in there. And now it's been almost 5 years since I published it, and it's become my full-time job. So I market the book, and I work with people one-on-one who are going through this and just, helping guide them to recovery. And it's actually incredibly fulfilling. I get such warm fuzzies, like when I talk to people and I'm able to help them every day. And so it's a really kind of cool job to have. So that's my story.
That's awesome. And what made you decide to do a podcast about it?
So I've actually been on probably 30 other people's podcasts. And so my friend Florence and I had actually helped her recover. I think her kids are sort of 12 and 11 now, so that long ago. And she also decided to change jobs. She had been in PR or marketing for a makeup company, and she was like, this is miserable. I hate my life. I hate my job. So she decided to become an eating psychology and body image coach. So she went to a program, and then she lives in Dubai, actually, and we had a little meetup of people from the board that I was on in Chicago a few years ago. And she came there, and we roomed together and just got to know each other a little bit better. And she was still going through the program at that time, and we talked about how cool it would be to actually work together. And so now we do. So she helps coach people on the body image side of recovery, and I sort of help on the physiologic side. And so then we were just chatting about doing a podcast, and because it's kind of cool to get to choose your own guests, and it's been really fun. And I think we have episode 10 ready to go, and we publish it every 2 weeks. And so so far it's going really well.
Awesome. Well, so if anybody is missing their period and you're not quite sure what to do about that, this is definitely something to check into for sure. Now, I read this book, I listened to it because I mainly listen to books these days rather than read them. But it's called Wheat Belly. Have you heard of this? And Grain Brain? These two books?
I've heard of them. It sort of goes along with much of what I campaign against, which is the idea that food is the enemy, and food makes you sick and all of that stuff. I mean, the people that I work with often follow some of those trends, and it leads to underfueling, and that actually makes you a whole lot more sick than eating those kinds of foods. I mean, obviously there are people who are gluten intolerant or dairy intolerant or whatever,
right?
But it's not the vast majority of us. And so, the idea that we should be afraid of all these different kinds of foods, I just don't really subscribe to that. So I haven't read that book specifically, but it just doesn't jibe with my worldview. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. We won't get into it. We'll move right along. And now it's time for the topic of the week. This week's topic is our most entitled first world problems. Who wants to start the ball rolling?
Heather does.
I have one.
Oh, okay, good.
Go ahead.
Children who figure out how to get internet when they're not supposed to have it.
Oh.
That's been something I've been struggling with recently because my kids just got cell phones, and so now they have mobile hotspots, which means that although I can turn the internet off for their devices, they can still get on through their mobile hotspots. So now it's become a bit more complicated to actually get them to shut down at night and go to sleep.
Scoundrels, yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
My kids aren't old enough for that yet. I guess I don't really try to shut down the internet because they're young enough where they'll go out and do stuff all day long.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not so much on the screens, but I might want to think about that when they're older. What about you, bro? Do you have cutoff times for your girls on the internet? You don't? It's okay.
No comments.
Okay, so I actually wrote down several examples here. These were just like in the moment thoughts that I had at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was how frustrating it was for me when they didn't have the soup I liked at the grocery store.
That is a big problem.
Yes, massive problem. Meanwhile, half the world doesn't have soup. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. I kind of have one that goes along with that is when Trader Joe's stops making the things that I like. They've done this to me multiple times, and it is extremely frustrating. Like they had a mushroom lasagna that was so good, and now they don't make it anymore. And I go there and I'm like, ugh, mushroom lasagna. And it's depressing. Yeah.
It is depressing. Well, can I tell you, since we're going to complain about first world problems, let's get into this. My local grocery store, I don't know what they do, but whenever there's a really popular item that just flies off the shelves, I don't know what's going on with their supply, but they're like, oh, that's a really popular item. Better stop getting it. Like, I'll just give one example. Brown cow yogurt, the chocolate flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had to deck somebody to get some a few weeks ago. Not really. It was just like, it's mine because it's so popular. They don't have that kind anymore. I was like, what is the matter with you? That should be the only kind you buy. It's all the other ones just
trying to avoid grocery store altercations. I mean, they're doing this for your own benefit.
Or they only send one. They only send one in hopes that there's a grocery store altercation. I was gonna say Costco's notorious for doing that. Like they get things in and we'll buy it and we're like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing product ever. And then they'll have it around for a short while and then you'll never see it again till a year later.
Oh.
Well, if it comes back, that's nice. I know.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Oh, okay, here's a great one. And this is how irritated I get when somebody asks me not to email at them at a certain email address that they wrote to me from.
Oh, why would they do that?
Has that ever happened to you? They're like, don't use this email. But I'm like, you originally sent me the email that I'm replying to was sent from that email. I'm not paying attention to that. I'm not like, well, let me make sure that I go open a new email over here and type in your new fancy email address.
That's like asking somebody to remember a phone number, right? Like you just don't do that anymore.
You don't. It's so true. Okay, I knew this was a real problem. I knew it. Here's another one. When tin cans don't have a pop top lid.
What, like
when you have
soup
to
cans?
use a can opener. I have to use a can opener to open the can. Unbelievable.
I'm kind of used to can openers. That's not one that I can agree with you on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Heather goes to the store and she looks at the cans first, and she's like, "Nope, not buying that one."
I have literally done that.
That's really funny.
Okay, and the last one on my list before I stopped writing them down, I was peeved because I got out of the shower and the mirror was fogged over. And I was like, I cannot believe there is not an invention for this yet.
There is.
This mirror should not be. There is. I need to find out about it.
Japan has it. Well, no, but Japan has mirrors that it like defogs a nice square. So like when you get out of the shower, it's already there and defogged for you. You just like flip a switch in your bathroom and it does its thing.
That's kind of cool. Do you have any first world problems you want to bring up, Brian?
I'm trying to think of them, but see, since Heather didn't actually send me this outline, I did not do any homework. I'm pretty sure I have some first world problems. I'm trying so hard to think of one right now. Apologize.
Well, I have another one. When you tell your Google Mini to turn on the lights and it turns on the lights in the wrong room. Very annoying. Yeah.
You're high tech over there. Good Lord. I still use a switch like a caveman.
Or like when you ask Siri to do something and she doesn't do it.
Yeah, I know. Really.
Oh, can we talk about voice to text? First world problem extreme. Come on.
Yes. I still don't do that.
You still don't do the voice to text?
No. I still use my fingers, and I really miss my one of my first smartphones had a slide out keyboard, and they stopped making those. Like, I would give anything to have a phone with a slide out keyboard. I hate touch typing. But I still haven't figured out the voice to text thing. So
one of the old Samsung phones, like one of our first smartphones that we had the on-screen keyboard, but it also had the slide-out keyboard, and I so much preferred the physical keyboard. I'm right there with you with that one.
Yep.
Same. Yep. I do miss that. Do you guys remember the clapper?
Oh, yes.
The clap on, clap off?
Clap off.
Where it would turn everything off when you laughed?
I know. You would laugh and everything. And I don't remember. Dad connected our TV to it.
God.
Yes.
So if we were watching a comedy, we'd be like, and the TV would turn off.
I remember the first time that happened where we were in their bedroom watching The Simpsons and something funny happened and we all started laughing and just the TV and the lights turned off. We couldn't figure out what was going on. And then Dad goes, ha ha! And it turns back on.
Oh my goodness. That is a poorly designed yet well-designed product at the same time. Right.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, guys. It is now time for podcast gamers. We're going to play Trial by Trolley.
All right. I love games. This is great.
Yes. We're going to play a modified version of this game because after reading the instructions, I realized it would be quite impossible for us to play the game as designed while podcasting. I have a stack of cards of good people and a stack of cards of bad people. I want you to imagine a split railroad track. You are the conductor or the engineer or whoever it is that drives the train. That's not what it's called. But anyway, you have to pick which track to go on. Who are you going to kill? That's the uplifting game that we're playing.
Just out of curiosity,
yes.
I was going to say, is this game made by Cyanide and Happiness?
This is made by, Cyanide and Happiness. It's Skybound Games. I should probably mention that when we play games in the episode. I always put the link in the show notes, though, to where people can go if they want to play.
That works.
So we're going to start with good people. We're going to put good people on each side of the track. Here we go. Okay. On the right-hand track, a beloved children's book author. On the left-hand track, a park ranger helping an endangered tortoise cross the tracks. Who are we going to kill, guys?
The author. You got to be the author. Well, yeah, because what are you going to kill? A tortoise and a person?
Well, I didn't tell you this, but the author is surrounded by children.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, well then, okay. We're doing the park ranger and the tortoise.
Yeah. But actually, it's funny because the kids are in the picture, but they're not in the thing. If it was just the author, would you go for the author?
Yes.
That's such a tough call.
Their books will outlive them, so.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true. They have a legacy, and this guy's just trying to save a tortoise. Okay. That's okay. I mean, I don't feel good about it, but we've got to go on. All right, let's do some bad guys now. Oh, an evil witch that steals and eats children.
Mm-hmm. That seems like a no-brainer, but I guess we have to wait and see who they're up against.
Guys, all records of your financial debt. Here's the thing.
Ooh.
The witch is largely fictional. The financial debt is real.
But Heather, no, the witch is not necessarily fictional. She might not be. There's witches. There's people who practice paganism and Wiccanism.
Mm-hmm.
They're witches.
You know what?
That is not fictional.
Save the children. Save the children. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If I were actually in this situation, I would probably run the witch over. Also, let's face it, my financial debt is digital, so running a truck over with a bunch of papers isn't going to do me much good. All right. Okay, let's go back to good people, because it's more fun to kill good
harder.
people.
No, it's harder.
Here we go. Oh, good Lord. Your entire family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running over whatever's on the other card. Let's be honest. A young artist drawing their first masterpiece.
Yeah. Artist.
The artist gets it.
Yep.
Sad, but true. Yeah.
I can draw a stick person too. Okay, that's not a masterpiece.
That's just the beginning of the masterpiece, Heather. That's just the beginning. It says starting his first masterpiece.
There are lots of artists.
You can't see it. You can't really see it because I've got the card. Can you see it?
I see it. Yeah.
That's like a kindergarten drawing.
Yeah.
That's just the outline.
I'm sorry, tiny artist. Your days are numbered. Let's move on. Okay, ready? These are not people. These are things. But I like this comparison.
Mm-hmm.
The Holy Grail, a working time machine.
The Holy Grail. No, wait.
The time machine.
I said the Holy Grail because honestly, to be honest, I don't know what it is. So that's why I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to run it over. But
like, whatever that is. It's only the most religiously significant item of all time that's been searched for eons by Christians.
But I mean, a time machine, like, come on. Who doesn't want to want to time travel?
Right? I could go back in time and buy stock in Netflix.
Have you never seen a time travel movie? It's a disaster.
Yeah. Apple.
Or Google.
IBM.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Google. Yeah.
What if...
Or, save millions of people.
There's that too,
Yeah.
Guys.
Uh-huh.
I think we need to think this time machine thing through a little longer.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking. When you go back in time and change something, what if by going back in time and changing something, it
you
kills
erase
people
yourself?
that you erase yourself or the people you love or the whole world? I don't know. Who knows what ripple effect can come from that?
But as Ryan said, you might end up with a whole lot more money, which is,
Okay, fine. The Holy Grail gets it. End of game. Oh, goodness. Okay.
Not that money is the be all end all. I mean, really.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you said money and I was like, what am I even talking about here? Of course we're going to run over the Holy Grail. So, Nick, what we usually do at the end is we have a free advice section. We give some advice. It can be good advice, bad advice, silly advice. But we always defer to the guest. If you have anything you would like to leave our listeners with, feel free. If not, we'll wing it like we always do.
So my biggest piece of advice kind of goes along with my book and everything, and it's stop dieting. Like dieting is for the birds. It just makes you miserable and unhappy, and you gain the weight back anyway. So why bother? Like just enjoy your food and enjoy your life. That's my advice.
Well, very good. I don't have anything. Ryan, you?
Nope.
Okay. Fade out.